Hey, happy full moon day. It's pretty safe to say that most places in the world right now it is the full moon today. So how are you riding it? I'm doing a bit of a walk and talk this morning. Not ideal holding the phone, but we'll persevere. It's a big one. How are we riding? How are we feeling? It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of potent astrology that is really synergizing at the time of this full moon. So it wants to be noticed. It's poking for our attention. Full moons are always about illuminating issues, areas, events. So if you've got stuff coming up, going on, know that this is a space where we're in it together. And I love to just bring a little of the current astrology, current energies, and check in really. And it's always a reminder that we're in this together, that we're all evolving together. It's not always an easy journey, but one of the particular themes of this full moon actually is humanitarianism, being at the Aquarian energy. So, you know, I think it's a really beautiful reminder, as always, that we've got this opportunity to remember that we're part of a network, we're part of a global network. The really beautiful thing, I'm going to jump straight in now. First of all, welcome to my YouTube channel if you're watching this there. Evolve with Grace with me, Stella Grace. I bring these videos every week or so, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less, but always with the significant astrology, significant energy, significant seasonal events on matters that are influencing us and affecting our energy, and how we can navigate it together and thrive ultimately. So jumping straight into this full moon, always with full moons there's a cleansing opportunity. It's quite a grey and dank and damp cleansing energy that I'm in this morning. I don't know where it is, how it is where you are in the world. Would love to hear. And always with full moons we have that really cleansing opportunity. So we have the potential to release what doesn't serve, and we've got this opportunity today. Now we can look at the zodiac sign to see the themes that we might be wanting to utilize. Now, as I always say, if you've seen my videos before, always say, please don't wait for the right time or the right astrological event. Yes, we can use them, we can utilize them for great things like business launches. We can use the energy for, you know, reminding us of our confidence. We can use the energy for you know, looking at when's a really good time for communication. We can do all of those things and so much more, but don't wait for them. Please don't be held hostage by any disempowerment of astrology, because that's something that I think is old energy, it's fear energy, and what I really love to use astrology for is the reminders that it brings of our innate power that we have within us all the time. So please don't wait for these key events to, you know, transpire to access our highest good, or access any of these gems of wisdom that astrology reminds us of, because we can do that anytime. But I'm giving you some flavors that are current. Look at this dark and grey moody sky behind me. So with full moons generally we can release what no longer serves. We can release anything that's old and outdated. And now particularly with an Aquarian full moon that we have this evening in the UK, it's about 7:25 p.m. and we have these Aquarian themes of clearing out the old to bring in the new. That's even more heightened with Aquarius, because Aquarius is innovative. Aquarius loves to dance to the tune of its own song, of its own individuality, of its own uniqueness. And always with full moons they're in opposition to the sun. And with the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius, we have these themes of a polarity of balancing the uniqueness in self, which is Leo, with our part in the collective, which is Aquarian, and remembering our uniqueness. So both themes and both signs will always serve about truth, about sovereignty, about uniqueness, about confidence. Both signs are confident. So we've got all of that beautiful energy to connect. But what's interesting for us to balance here is thinking about how our part in our uniqueness, in our confidence, in our individuality also fits within the collective. So sometimes it's easier to think of well, not necessarily easier, but it's good to also think of the shadow aspects of each of the signs, the lower, the more unhealed aspects, because then that can show us sometimes as reminders or as little red flags or invitations to think about how we want to step up really, or evolve to the next level, because we've all got all of this within us. We've all got light and dark within all of us, so we've all got all of the zodiac signs within us somewhere in our chart, so we can all relate to this as humans. You know, this is again something we share. We're all diverse, but we're all connected by that diversity, and we all can share similarities within that diversity. So some of the shadow aspects of this full moon of Leo and Aquarius to think about balancing are Leo can tend towards seeking the validation and approval of others, either through drama, either through causing a scene, or liking to be in the limelight, or liking to be, you know, making an entrance, making a show, being seen, having attention. Now, some of those things don't have to necessarily be negative. This isn't, you know, necessarily a negative thing. But if we're only confident when we're seeking the approval of others through whatever means, then we might want to look at how we can do a little bit more work on being our own biggest source of approval, validating ourselves, loving ourselves. Leo really helps with that on its higher aspect. And again, we've got an opportunity to shift into this energy at any point. We've got this really beautiful opportunity to sink into a really deep level of sovereignty with Leo energy, and I talk about this a lot because it comes up quite a lot, and actually it's energy that we can utilize at any time, particularly with what's going on in the world, particularly with, you know, all of the disempowering things that happen and that we've been through as a collective, and, you know, all of the power imbalances that are currently still at play, but we are working towards equalizing. That's where Aquarius energy comes in. So we've got this beautiful dance between being really bold in ourselves, being really confident in ourselves, knowing our worth, knowing our value, with all the sun in Leo, balancing with the full moon in Aquarius, which is heightening our ability to be unique, but also remember our place in the collective. And by place in the collective, I mean how we're impacting the collective, just even through our energy, the ripple effect, the frequency aspect of this. Frequency is something I talk about a lot because everything's a frequency game, and it's fascinating when we start to see the world in frequency. So, you know, that's not to put pressure on ourselves. That's not to say that we have to be all singing, all dancing and feeling happy all the time. That's not how life works. That's not real. But frequency in terms of, you know, whatever work we do on ourselves, whatever awareness we have, whatever healing we do, is always going to raise our frequency. So any aspect of that work we do on ourselves at any point is going to not only assist us and our loved ones around us, but the entire fucking planet, actually. You know, it's pretty magical, and that's just through the ripple effect of energy. So you know, it's worth thinking about as well that even if we didn't even talk to anyone else, if we just worked on ourselves, we would have that really magical impact of actually sending light and increased frequency and healing around the whole world just by doing it to ourselves. So that's really powerful to remember. And then of course we think, you know, a bit further on from that in terms of also how we actually treat our fellow women and men, how we actually connect, how we support, how we might want to look at not only how our choices impact on ourselves and our loved ones, but also the wider collective, society, our community. These are all Aquarian themes. I love that in community we have the word unity as well. You know, this is about coming together. This is about, yes, we might not like everyone, we're not supposed to, of course we still remember our boundaries, but this is about how we treat each other despite those diversities, or despite those differences, or despite those disagreements even. Now, disagreements is an interesting word. I'm just going to go down that avenue for a minute, because as well as the full moon, some of the other really activating astrology that we have at the same time, making this big, beautiful, but very impactful synergy of astrology at the moment, is the full moon and the sun are making a square to Uranus and to Mars and Venus. So we've got a number of these planets that are kind of activated and talking to each other, and all kind of lit up, if you like, by the alignment. So with the Venus being square to Mars, Venus and Mars and Jupiter are square, at the same time as the full moon. And so with a Venus and Mars square, we've got the potential for conflict, but always with the square is about teaching us something. The square says, okay, there's going to be some issues here that might be shown up. They are challenges requiring your action. How can you bring something different, or act in a new way, or bring some new information to light, or do something differently to serve this situation, to teach you something, to increase wisdom, to make it easier for next time, to build kind of evolving for the longer or bigger term picture. So that's what we have happening at the same time as the full moon. Venus is highly active. She's also, as well as making this square to Mars and Jupiter at the same time as the full moon, she's also opposite Saturn. So Venus opposite Saturn, bearing in mind she's also squaring Mars, we've got some quite interesting dynamics between the masculine and the feminine energy going on, which is something I've been talking about recently. We're not in conflict with each other. This might be a reminder of that. You know, if you do have that kind of conflict within your life, this is asking you to look within and asking you to look at how you can first balance your own needs, balance your own energies, and then see that impact in your external world. But with Venus opposing Saturn, relationships might take on a more serious note. They might take on, in some senses, it could be a bit of a dampener. In other senses, it could be they get more serious. They could get more committed. They could hit, a deeper level, or the next level. Or they might dampen and fizzle out altogether. So there's those kind of real strong relationship dynamics around this full moon as well. Where Venus, she is squaring Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter is also about the planet of expansion and abundance and opportunities. So things may feel a bit more limited in our relationships. And again, always, anything with relationships, anything with Venus energy, it starts with ourselves. It starts with the relationship with self first. She also is the ruler of our finances, and all of our resources, inner and outer resources, things that we find aesthetically pleasing, our beauty, our romance, our love, but also money's in there as well, because it's our resources. It's currently our currency, isn't it? It's not actually about the money, it's about our currency. So it wouldn't matter if we were dealing with potatoes. It would be Venus ruled, but as it happens, we are currently in a system, in a world that money is our greatest currency at the moment. So Venus rules money because these are the resources we have to hand. So she's reminding us, when she's opposing Saturn and squaring Jupiter and squaring Mars, this is not a time for frivolous spending. This is not a time for big grand gestures. This is not a time for going all out with grandiose ideas, ventures and kind of resources. We're not looking to outlet that kind of level. We're looking to kind of keep a bit of a cap on our spending, but also our energy really as well. We're looking to preserve a little bit more here and take stock of what we already have. This is a really beautiful time for not only noticing the simplicity within our lives and the beauty within our lives within that simplicity, but also what's really the essentials. What do we really need? Probably we have most of the things we're already looking for within inside ourselves already. We maybe haven't realised that. And this kind of links back to the concept of Leo, looking for the approval of others. When we kind of do that for ourselves first, we recognise we have so much within our lives and so much gratitude and so much to be, grateful for, and so many resources. We don't always think of that, but with money, there's so much more as well to our resources, and Venus is a reminder of that at the moment with Saturn and Jupiter at play. So that's a big dose of Venus, and Saturn and Jupiter and Mars in the mix. Mars, just a little reminder on Mars, where I was going a minute ago with the masculine and feminine aspects being a little bit conflicting here. That's because, again, they're making a square. So Mars and Venus squaring, meaning, again, the square always meaning it's just poking for our attention for a little bit of action. A little bit of a dynamic of where might we be needing to bring some action to this situation for our learning. So that might be, again, the masculine and feminine within ourselves. I've recently recorded a video about the patriarchal imbalance that we're still seeing a lot of toxic energy of within our system, within our day-to-day lives. So it might be worth having a look there if you're interested a little more on that topic. And of course, this isn't about, and something I was really stressing in the video, this isn't about being in conflict. This isn't about blaming anyone. This isn't about looking to our gender counterparts with any more disempowerment or conflict. We've been through enough of that. This is about, again, uniting, coming together, bringing in the beautiful Aquarian themes of the full moon this very day. So we have a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of beautiful energies to work with. And the challenges always require some action for growth, and I always think that's a really great opportunity. So if you are feeling it, if you are being put through the mill a little bit, this is also your invitation to slow down a bit. We've also still got Mercury retrograde happening. We're in the Leo aspect of Mercury retrograde again. So Mercury and the Sun are together in Leo, but Mercury's in retrograde. So we've got this boldness, we've got this fiery energy happening, but we've at the same time, beautiful contradiction here, at the same time we've got the opportunity to slow down, to look within, to see what our inner workings are doing and how they're impacting on our outer workings. Excuse me. So lots of beautiful opportunities, and if you are feeling like you're really riding the waves, then always it's an opportunity to go within. Some other beautiful energy here that I touched on is that the full moon and the Sun are squaring Uranus. So that's like another dose of Aquarian energy, in the sense of Uranus is ruled by the sign Aquarius, and so they share the similar themes of revolution, change. Yes, it's humanitarianism, as I was discussing, but it's also about freedom. So something really beautiful that someone said to me recently that I thought was so wise and so simple and so beautiful is, let life surprise you. I just thought, yeah, and that, what a day for that. What the astrology makeup for that today is just absolutely yes. Let life surprise you. There may be things that crop up. Uranus always loves to keep things interesting, but always it's about change for the longer term good, and we're doing so much of that as a global network right now, aren't we? We're doing so much of that as individuals, and that's what it's all about. It's these opportunities to grow, and the energy is happening anyway. Our evolution is happening. How we go with it, how we respond to it, or how we get on board with it is up to us. But you know, the frequencies are such that it's only going to be a time of change. It's only going to keep bringing opportunities to grow. So Uranus is a big key player in that, and squaring the full moon and really might kickstart some of this. Now, full moons are a very quick transit, so of course we're only talking about a couple of days here, but what they do give a reminder of and an example of is that this stuff is happening anyway. These are very interesting, seismic, changing times. We've got Pluto in Aquarius as well, something else I've been discussing for a while, that 2-decade transit of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. That's bringing massive changes to our structures, to our system, a whole rebirth process that brings more power to the people ultimately, which is really Aquarian themes and really Uranus energy, which we've got squaring the moon. So we've got this short-term aspect. We've got this couple of days where these energies that I'm talking about are really heightened, but we're in the scheme of this for the long haul anyway. We're in the scheme of change, we're in the scheme of evolution, and we're in the scheme of revolution, because ultimately the power that we have is being really highlighted at the moment on an individual basis. Think back to the Leo energy, but also bringing that back to ourselves, and how that's impacting on the collective is Aquarian and Uranus energy. So it's all this really beautiful synergy. So I invite you to lean into this full moon energy, see how it's serving you. Always, always, always we have a great opportunity to let go, do some decluttering, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Anything that's old, outdated. This can include things like how we talk to ourselves, how we show up. I've recently posted on my social media and website a blog post about this, and it might be that there's a whole new way of being that wants to birth through you, and that might be just how you show up with talking to yourself, with being your own best friend, with not taking any more shit in your relationships. You know, it could be any of those things. You're showing up with birthing a whole new way of being in yourself. Or it might be something more external. It might be new jobs, it might be new relationships, it might be the end of relationships, it might be, you know, starting that creative project, starting that dream, taking action towards the life that you've always dreamed of, even if it's one small step on that today. So these can be inner or outer changes, but I invite you to look at anything that's going to serve you to let go of an old way of being, so that all of your new fresh energy can come in, and we start working towards that now. If you want to work with the moon energy, the moon is such a great energy to work with because we're so impacted by the moon. And again, if you've watched my videos, you'll have heard me talk before about, you can see the tangible evidence of how we're impacted by the moon just by how we can see that in the tide. You know, how the tide is impacted by the full moon. I always love a full moon high tide because it's at its most fruition, it's at its highest point, it's that fullness, that ripeness, and we can really see it really is coming to that big fruition, so that we can release, so that we can let go, and then we start to, as it starts to wane, and we sort of head towards the new beginnings of the new moon 2 weeks later. So we have a really interesting opportunity here. We've got the next 2 weeks following the new moon, following the full moon, to the new moon, will be a time where we're ready to begin again, ready to begin with fresh ventures. So at the moment we're kind of clearing out the old, ready for these big changes, and then we can start bringing them a little bit more into growth with 2 weeks time new moon, if you like to work with the moon phases. So I'm going to wish you all the best. Enjoy these big seismic energies, short term and long term, and most of all, let life surprise you. Sending lots of love.